Again, I'm not saying they understand, for whatever reason, sometimes he should stay behind bars. But for whatever reason in that, of course, but I'm just saying that even in that, based on their evaluation of that particular person, I don't know exactly who the person, what he was, but they understood, even though naturally you would say under no circumstance, they saw it had value to help him in that particular moment. Although they were victimized. They personally were victimized. They didn't make a difference. No. I understand. You could say, an ordinary person says they're responsible. These people are not. They made an evaluation, and based on their evaluation, they felt it was the right thing to do. No. Some said they definitely made that evaluation. Some said that's what I'm saying. You'd say, you see, they're out of touch with reality, these people. Rosh Zalman was the most down-to-earth, practical person. You couldn't put anything over on him under any circumstance. Okay? He had night vision without the goggles, without the glasses. Okay. Exactly. Okay. We left off Daf Beis Amud Beis. The Gemara asked the question on Beis and Gitten. This brings memories back to Elliot when he was in 10th grade. Okay, this Gemara here. The Gemara asked the question, when the Shliach, the agent, says a single witness says, B'fani nechtam. He's only a single witness, you should have to have two witnesses. The Gemara answered, Erechem nem bisurin. We'll see Tosas inside in a moment. The one we spoke that, what is the basis? Rashi says it's a svara. Tosas says it's a pasuk. The Sofra law, a woman who's a zova, a woman has a flow, she has to count 7 clean days. So she's believed. When she tells her husband that she counted 7 clean days, she's believed. That's Erech and Embisur, which we'll discuss, because it has relevance to this next Gemara. So the Gemara asks, it's not comparable. What's Erech and Embisurin? Chaticha sofik shel chelev sofik shel shuman. You have a piece of fat, and you're not sure is it kosher fat or not kosher. It doesn't mean to say whether it came from a kosher animal or not kosher animal. Meaning, the fat, if it's taken from a certain part of the animal, it's kosher. It's taken from another part of the animal, that same animal, it's called chelev. Chelev is not kosher fat. And you're not sure, the fat, if you look at its makeup, physically it's identical. It's all dependent from what part of the animal was taken. And the Eirechot says this is kosher fat. He's believed. Because there, it hasn't been established, it's something that's also, that's forbidden. The Eirechot is revealing to us what is the fact. Is it kosher, is it not kosher? Because it doesn't have a presumptive forbidden status, and he wants to change its status. There he's clarifying it, what was it initially? So we said, shchita, an animal has a cheskesein zvucha, the Gemara says, right? Before it's slaughtered, it's not kosher, you can't not permitted to eat it. Yet an Eirechot is permitted to say that it was slaughtered, it's ritually slaughtered. Right? Why? Because we said that's biyodo. Because since he has the ability to slaughter himself or have a ritual slaughter, a shochet to do it, or bring about that result, so this chazak means nothing. Because he has control over that situation. But let's say a woman's an eishes ish. Right? So, unless the husband dies, unless she's divorced, she remains an eishes ish for the rest of her life. A single witness wants to say, she's not an eishes ish. How could he be believed? He's testifying against a presumed status that she's forbidden. He's definitely not believed. One isn't Eirechot believed, Sofik Chelev, Sofik Shuman. There's no presumption. We're trying to understand what is it. It's not he wants to change his status. Even though, if you're not able to verify what it is, we say Sofik D'Oraisa L'Chumra. That's because Sofik D'Oraisa, because it's a question. It's a question you're not permitted. But what is it? We don't know what it is. The other chazaka, if it's cheskes iser, it's forbidden. Person gets malchus. A person, you have an animal, you find an animal that's killed, and there's no way to determine whether it was ritually slaughtered. You eat the meat. And he's forewarned, don't eat the meat or else you get malchus for eating the vela. Person says, but maybe it was slaughtered. What's wrong with it? The animal is a cheskazena zvucha. It has a presumptive status. It wasn't ritually slaughtered. Until you can prove that it was, it has an unslaughtered status. So what does it mean if it was never ritually slaughtered? It's nevelo. Torah says you eat nevelo, you get malchus. So that. But what about here, chalev? We don't know. Is it shuman? Is it kosher fat, non-kosher fat? You can't eat it if you can't determine what it is, but the person wouldn't get malchus. It's a sovet derais l'chumra. You're in doubt, you're not permitted to eat it. Alec, you want to say something?
Nowadays, the person testifying on the doctor, not on the
Alec is splitting hairs. But we discussed this last week, the day that you were here. But the document only has relevance to the divorce. We discussed this. The kashrus of a mikveh, what's it relevant to? To the status of the person who's tummy. You don't look at the mikveh independent of the person. Right? It's the same idea. The document, whether it was written correctly, or halachically or not, only has relevance will terminate the marriage. So that's automatic. That's a dav shebe'ervo. Right? It has to do with the status of the woman. Okay? Here the woman has a presumptive status that she's a married woman. So the Gemara is saying two things here. First, let's say chazik yisura deishas ish. She has a presumed status as nation even before we start speaking about davar shebervo. Correct? And then it says havi davar shebervo, and in addition, it's davar shebervo. Two things. We'll see.
Surely the fact that she's got a hesed.
Vein davar shebervo post mishnayim. And we principle anything which is davar shebervo. The testimony has no credibility unless you have minimally two kosher witnesses, and that's not this. And I said a shliach does not have to be a man necessarily, and even if it's a man, it's only a single witness. So, but he's believed. Why? Okay. So let's take a look at this.
The woman wants to get married. We don't know anything about her. And a single witness came and said, she's never been married before.
I don't need a single witness. I need nothing. Every person's born unmarried. So the presumption is she's not married.
You could believe her.
You could believe her, definitely.
She says, I've never been married before.
She's believed. 100% believed.
Because of her...
Chazaka, she's a cheskes, she's a cheskes penuya. There's a presumptive status, she's not married. She was born unmarried, she's still unmarried. Unless you know otherwise.
But the difference between the chaylev and the shumah...
No, it comes from the...
There was a change. We know there was a change.
Not there was a change.
There was a shchita.
No, shchita, the Eid Echad is believed. Because it said that he has control over it.
But that was the change.
No.
There was an animal. And
So now the animal has two parts to it. It has fat from one location, fat from another location. One fat is kosher, one's not kosher. I'm not sure what's the origin of this particular fat. From the non-kosher part of the animal or the kosher part? So I have a question. Now, is a single witness believed to elucidate my question, to resolve it? The answer is yes. But over there, it's either kosher or not kosher. The presumed status has no relevance to the status of the chalev. The first needs the nevela. Love. Chalev, it's koris. So even on a killed animal, the question is, you get up the same question. A man goes and eats chalev or eats shuma from the non-kosher animal. Does he have mingachatos? If he has chalev, he has mingachatos. A single witness says that fat is chalev. It's chalev. Now he eats it inadvertently. But since he testified it was chalev, he's going to get mingachatos. You want to comment? You want one shots now? He knows Kalisar. It's a mosif. It's something. It's much more stringent. Chalev is chalon. We have to do it.
That's why you believe.
No, but I'm saying even if, let's say a person eats fat or chalev of a non-kosher animal, it has halachic ramifications. And it's shuman, you don't have to bring chatos. And let's say before the person ate of the non-kosher animal, a single one says that fat is chalev. and subsequently somebody eats that chaylev inadvertently, he's going to bring the chatos. If the person has a chumam, if he eats that inadvertently, he does not bring the chatos. But if he has the chumam that he violated a law.
Regardless of whether it's a kosher.
Kosher or not, I'm just saying it has that ramification. Even on a forbidden level, the various levels of how serious the aveira is, how serious the transgression is.
Kosher animal, though, what? I don't understand. It's not going to candy anything.
Shogeg inadvertently eats fat of a kosher.
Right.
He thought it was kosher.
Whether it's kosher fat or not kosher fat, what's the difference?
No, not kosher because it was originally slaughtered. But it's chaylev.
Right. The right.
Chaylev is kores. Inadvertent kores, you bring the chatos. Inadvertent lav, you just have to do tshuva. You don't require to bring the chatos. What?
I don't understand. It's a not kosher animal. The whole animal is kores. If you eat it.
No, it's not kores.
So whatever.
It's a lav. I'm not talking it's forbidden. Of course it's forbidden.
Yeah.
But what's the level of liability if inadvertently you eat it? Person violates Yom Tov inadvertently. What do you do? No, Yom Tov it's a lav, nothing.
Okay.
Shabbos, much more serious.
Sure.
You violated with one stroke and a half. Okay? But there's a difference. Shabbos is Shabbos and Yom Tov is Yom Tov. Different degree of transgression.
I think that's the case that we had at the institution. When a woman comes in, we have no background about her. She comes into the community and she claims she's married. In other words, our presumption would have been that she's not married. We have no history. We have no history.
That's chazokah. She doesn't even say she's married. She doesn't even say she's married.
She acts like a married.
She acts like a marriage, like a mother and son, interacting as a mother and son. And then she has relations with that child after he gets older.
So she created his own chazak.
And that's soklin, soklin al chazokah.
So she doesn't come with a child, that she just claims that she's
That means nothing. Means nothing. Means
treat
nothing.
her as a single.
She has no relation. A woman comes to a community and says, "This is my son," and then they have relations
She
together.
comes herself.
Nothing.
And she claims she's married.
She thought that's Shabbat Shechus Yisura.
So she
Shabbat, that's Shabbat Shechus Yisura. It's a whole different concept. It's like saying a kosher piece of meat is not kosher. The whole world says you believe it's not
right,
kosher.
she's off limits. Right.
She's off limits. She is.
Just for him. It's not kosher for her.
Right, correct. So if a woman says, "I'm married," she's not permitted to be with any other man. Are you going to put it to death? The answer is no. Because you don't have two witnesses establishing her as a married woman.
Rabbi said that if we didn't know whether something was off limits, in the case of the shuma, it works with one witness.
Because he's not countering a presumed forbidden status. Forbidden status.
But in the case of the woman who is a leader, she is.
Ask that question.
She is. She is countering. She is believed that. She is countering.
As why it's Chazik Yisura. That's the question. That's the part I want to learn. Yeah. That's the reason why we're waiting on this.
Over time, she has
Memories of pretty cool. Okay. Using Yankas. The Tosa says what we have to explain it. In Tomar, U'nolad Eirecho Nem Yisurim. It's the fourth one up, the last two lines in Tosus. Eirech Nem Yisurim. He says, "Vim Tomar U'nolad Eirecho Nem Yisurim." So what is the source that a single witness believe regarding Yisur? Yishom the Alpina Menida. We learn from Nida, Mididashina, Perkamadir, cites the Gemara, it says, "V'sover Olam." She counts for the 7 clean days, and she's believed. Vim Tomar, Iyed Echod, excuse me, Vim Tomar, Iyed Echod, Nemon. Where is it? I skipped over here. Vim Tomar, Im Kein Afilus Chazik Yisura. So if that's the case, she was a Nida. So she has a forbidden presumptive status. How is she believed to counter that? It's not going to be continuous. Ultimately, the woman's going to stop menstruating. So she is inevitably going to have clean days. When 7 days pass, Torah, Memela, it's naturally she becomes Torah. Of course, now she's qualified to go to the mikveh. V'lo ischazik yisura. And therefore, it's not ischazik yisura. Of course, there's going to be a natural transition. Ischazik yisura, what we spoke about, a woman is an eshes ish. Something has to happen to bring about that change. Divorce or death of husband. Otherwise, it's etched in stone. It's fixed in stone. Here, it's not going to remain. We discussed this in Kedushin, if you remember.
She doesn't go to mikveh.
No, she go to the mikveh when she.
Doesn't go.
What do you mean she doesn't go? When does she go?
She doesn't go.
So she remains. But that Tosas concludes. And what about when it's time to go? That's beyond the litbol. That's within her ability. So to bring her to that point, that's transitional. And what about the act? But she's still not permitted. But that's beyond her. That's within her ability. She could bring that about by going to the mikveh.
So she doesn't have a chazaka in this area.
She has no chizk. So when she testifies, she's not countering something which cannot be changed unless it changes naturally. Here, this naturally changes. Now, I want to talk about this. We discussed at the end of Kedushin. We had a case, a woman is a ketana, and she becomes even a bogeres. A bogeres is a fully mature woman. The last day of the 6-month period, 12 and a half months, on that last day, she could either actually become a bogeres at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. We're not sure. The father married her off at that last day. Right? That's the question. And she married herself off on that last day. So is her marriage a marriage? If she marries her off and she's, let's say before that day, she's a nara. A nara, she's in the domain of the father, her action has no value. If she transitions into bogeres, she's no longer nara, the father's action. We don't know exactly what happened. At that last day, was she a nara or was she a bogeres? So it's a machlok Rav and Shmuel. And what was the argument? Is she Safek, Mukudeshes? We don't know too. Or do we say no, she's married to the last one? Do we say she's married to the first one, to the last one? There was a discussion. So we spoke about over there. That's called Chazok Asui Lishtanus. Factually, she's going to transition. Once she reaches 12 and a half, 6 months and 1 day, she's out of her father's domain, not even a question. So when we say she has a Chazok Hashto, at the end of the day we check her, she has all the signs that she was mature. Her breast developed to a degree, she's a bogeres. So have a chazokah dehashta and have a chazokah meikora. Normally when you have a chazokah dehashta, present status, and it counters the original status overweighs the present status. But over there, that original status was meant to change. It was on the last day, now we're in a transitional stage. So that chazokah doesn't have the strength. So that's like Nida. That's like Nida. So therefore, Ravs, and we rule this way, it's Sofim Kudeshes. Because each one has equal power, so you can't, which one is it? Is it A or is it B? It's not to be, there's no way to determine it. Sofim Kudeshes, she's not married, so it says if either of them want to remain with her, the other one should give a get, and therefore the other one's marriage is a marriage. And it's the Mishnah. But that's the way Rav, and we rule this way. That's called Chazokah Sui Lishtanos. A chazokah which is meant inevitably will change. It's just a question of time. Okay? Now, so the Gemara says, here it's a Davish of Erva. No, very interesting Tosus. We had a question in the Yevomis, which we discussed, that a person who has Tevel, and he owns the Tevel. The Torah says, because you own the produce, the grain, you have the ability to tithe it. What about a third party who was not authorized? He was not made into a shliach. He cannot make a change. Cannot tithe it. Right? One of the sources of shlichus we learned from a person appoints someone to tithe on his behalf. But if he wasn't appointed shlich, he's not. So as a shaila, question, a third party who was not appointed to be a shliach, as an eirechot, he testifies that this grain, this produce is no longer tevel. Is he believed? What's the question? Since it's not biyodo, since he doesn't have the ability to make that change, he's testifying, he's countering this chazik yisura. Because unless the owner tides it, it remains tevel forever. Is he believed or not believed? The Gemara leaves it unresolved. Doesn't resolve this question. Okay? Now, so now we're going to talk about Tosas here.
He finds it using input. He said there's no loss to the man.
No, not that. I'm not talking about that. Even that he can't do. That was a question of Zochanod Mishlo Befonov. That because the person would not want him to do it. But now there's not tithing. He's saying he's testifying that the owner tithed it. He's not believed. Say did the owner tithed it? Single witness. Because since there's a presumptive status that it's osir, he's not believed. Maybe yes, maybe the Gemara leaves it unresolved.
The owner can't be testimony.
No, the owner's definitely believed. The owner's not here.
The owner's, so we have a case with the ocean of a person who normally ties a chaver. Correct?
It's different. The Gemara says that a chaver, a person's at a certain level, we could say with certainty, he doesn't leave produce untithed. Why? Because somebody may actually partake of it and be in violation. But let's say a person's not a chaver. We're not sure. Did he not? And an Echad now wants to testify he did. It's not believed.
So how could someone say that an animal was shafted?
Because it's biyodo.
No, but someone else shafted it.
Anybody could shut. What about if I slaughter your animal
Yeah.
without permission?
Sorry?
Is it a valid slaughtering? I took your animal, I slaughtered. So it's biyodi. So whenever I testify regarding anybody's animal, it's within my power to bring about that result. Anything which is in your power to bring about the result, even though it's after the fact, since initially...
So it's not his tevel, so he can't bring that result. Is that what
He exactly. It's not his grain, so he can't bring about that result. That's the question. Okay?
Third party said this woman went to the mikveh. Let's suppose we're dealing with, did she touch some holy object when she was not yet purified? And somebody else said, I went to the mikveh, I saw her in the mikveh. We don't believe that person.
She has said so.
She hasn't said that she's not here. Same case. She's not here.
Someone
We
says-
believe her. She said she did.
And someone says
You know what I'll tell you? You know what I'll tell you? The Gemara in Chulin, which we had, this is all recalled. Gemara says, like in Chulin, when a person's tovel, does he need kavanah? Does he have to have an intent? What's the question? For a truma, definitely you have to have intent. To eat kochim, when you tovel, you have to have in mind, tovel to be able to eat kochim, sacrificial meat. What about for chulin? Do you have to have intent? So the Gemara cites a brisa that if a person accidentally falls into a body of water and it's fully submerged, it's valid. Tefillah doesn't need that. What about if I take a woman, whether she likes it or not, and I immerse her in the mikveh? Right? It's biyodi. Right. So it would be believed.
So that works.
It would work. It would be believed. This is chulin. Right? This is the same thing. A woman accidentally falls into a mikveh. She doesn't even realize. She's fully. It's a valid tefillah.
The one person is beyond it.
It's biyado. Exactly.
All right.
You have to understand this, to appreciate the humor in it. Our Shiv Zechariah Baruch, he spoke a real Lithuanian Yiddish. And so when we learned that Gemara in Chulin many years ago, so if you want to differentiate between just an action and something which is more than just an action, it's like when you slaughter an animal. If you cut the two signs sufficiently, it's called an act of shechita. You immerse yourself in the mikveh, for chulin, it's the immersion which brings about the tara, the purity. Okay? So in the way they would explain it in Europe, the way they would explain it, he says, a reinzefal ma mikveh is a truckene pula. It's a dry act. That's the way he explained it. It's a dry, first as a dry act. That was the joke. You understand? It's a truckene pula. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, so let's see Tosas a little bit over here. There's certain things you can't forget. Okay. So the Gemara says over here, firstly, it's Chasik Yisura. Secondly, it's Davar Shebe'ervo. So that Tosas addresses this. Haid no Davar Shebe'ervo. What do we have to add? Say it's Chasik Yisura. That's enough reason why it should not be believed. He says, Omeri Shem Bisha Rabbo Bishari Surin Gon Tevel Vehegdish Vekol Nomos. All those situations there. Something is tevel, something is hegdish. Was it redeemed? Was it not redeemed? Somebody made a neder. In a situation where it's not within the power of the person to bring about the change, is the erechot to leave? So he's asking, what is the moreover? You have to come on to Davar Shebe'ervo. Is chazik yisura should be sufficient reason why the shlich should not be believed. He's an erechot. What does the more have to add? And in addition, it's a Davar Shebe'ervo. That's Tos's question. So evidently, what do we see from here? Maybe that chazik yisura the erechot will be believed. So Tos's answers. Okay, Omeri Mishum Disha Rabbah. That's exactly why, because since it's left unresolved there, on the side of the question that he is believed, so is chazik zur is not sufficient. So that's why the Gemara has to, in addition, even if you'll be of the opinion that a single witness is believed when he counters a chazaka, but here it's worse than that because there's Davar Shebe'ervo. But if the conclusion over there, which is unresolved, would be that he's not believed, we'd have to introduce Davar Shebe'ervo. And Neirechot is not believed, so we're only mentioning Davar Shebe'ervo because it's unresolved. So now Tosas asks this question. On the side that he says Vintomer Echod Nema Bishari Surin Afil Chazik Yisura V'Lav Yodo Amayitzu V'Sofa Lo La'atzmo. Here, if an Eid Echod would be believed, even by Chazik Yisura, and it's not within his power, what do I need to pasuk V'Sofa Lo La'atzmo that she's believed? Right? What do you need it? I mean, you have to think. So Tosas says something interesting. What happens? We'll have a proof from Rashi later. We know that a person has to give his life. Normally we say, Chai Bohem, Veloshi Amos Bem. Pikuach Nefesh, you have to violate Shabbos, you have to eat on Yom Kippur, you eat on Yom Kippur. Whatever you have to preserve life. What a person says, either commit incest or adultery, or I will kill you. It's one of the things a person has. It's Yehorav Vel Yavor. You have to give your life. Everything's based on psukim. It's based on psukim. You have to give your life. Now, what about if a man's wife is a nida or a single woman? She's a nida. Someone says, you don't have a relationship with that woman, we'll kill you. What is that? You have to give your life. It says for three things. Gili arayos. Is nida gili arayos? Do you have to give your life? Ernie, what do you say? The halacha is, and the way it's clear from Shulchan Aruch, Rashi later we're going to have, you have to give your life. Since it has liability of kores, it's kores. It's not have a relation with a mamzeris. If we mamzeris, you don't have to give your life. Single woman, she's illegitimate. You don't have to give it up. But because neither is kores, that's the equivalent of incestuous relationship, you have to give your life. Even though the child's not going to be a mom, so it doesn't make a difference. Okay? You have to give your life. So if that's the case, Tosa says, I need the suffer law. Maybe Eirech and then be Surin if we're dealing with an ordinary love. But Kores, which is Gili Arayos, even though it's not a Davar Shebe'ervo, but maybe there a single witness would not be believed. Torah says, no, even there a single witness is believed. The suffer law. Because here, her testimony that she counted the 7 clean days, it actually establishes as she's going to be permitted. So that's Kores. Maybe she shouldn't be believed. I need the suffer law says she is believed. Okay?
Where does he utilize the concept that in her power to change her stance?
Only to go to the mikvahs within her powers.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what it takes.
Yeah, but let's say we're going like Rashi. Rashi says it's a svara. It's logical. People can't eat in one another's houses. Therefore, it's logical to say the Torah says a single witness is believed. But what about Kores? That's much more serious than a lav. Kosher, not kosher. So that I have a pasuk. No. Chelev's biyodo. No, Chelev is different. Chelev is a question, is it kosher, not kosher? Here she definitely was a nida. Although it's transitional, but factually, we know she was a nida. Was the transition from nida, is she ready, is she qualified to go to the mikveh? Right? She's not, time hasn't yet come, she's not qualified. So first I have to establish she's first believed. But even if she's believed, until she goes to the mikveh, she's tamei. So that's biyodo. So we're speaking up to the time is able to go to the mikveh. Why she believed? It's kares. The Torah says it's doesn't make that she's believed. That's what the Torah says. No, that we said Rashi agrees to this. We said.
But he doesn't agree that the
that we said. For Rashi says for all those other things, I don't need a pasuk.
You wouldn't rely on it, right?
It's unclear.
It's unclear.
All the examples Rashi gave were all examples of biyado. So if it's
So in the case of non-biyado,
I would need the suffer law. I would need the suffer law.
but there's only one case, right?
But Tos is saying, but if I say that an Erechotz believe even against this Chazak Yisura, which is a svara, what do I need the suffer law? See, he says, because this is more serious than just a love. This is Koris.
Is there any other case outside of biyado?
No. Okay?
So we're saying it doesn't matter how severe the liability is.
As long as it's not Davar Shebe'ervo, even a single witness would be believed.
Well, that's what I'm asking, because the Davar Sheva
It's not a Davar Shebe'ervo means, like I explained to you. How do we know Davar Shebe'ervo needs two witnesses? Because Torah says, Al Pi Shnayim Edim Yokum Davar. To establish monetary fact, evidence is two, nothing less than two. And we find the word Davar written in terms of woman committed adultery. That's adultery. It says Davar. So I have a Gzeira Shava, Davar from there, as over there, Davar means two, Davar means here two. That's the only way you could establish her as an adulteress. You have to have two witnesses. Neither is not adultery, even though it has liability of koris, but it's not, or incest. It's not that. But still, it's more than a love. So therefore, I need a possible suffer. Let's say, even though it has that serious level of liability, even a single witness nevertheless is believed.
And Rashi would agree to that concept.
Rashi would agree with that.
That concept.
Correct.
So, we can believe a single witness if it was in her power, his power, to change, even though the liability here is as severe as it gets.
Correct. Exactly.
So if a man says, this is not Chelev, this is Shuman,
He's believed.
I
He's
can
believed.
believe him.
You could believe him, and that is not allowed. That's what the Gemara says. Why does Eir Chelev be Surian if it's Sofik Chelev, Sofik Shuman? Even though there's a chance, if it's Chelev, it's Koris. For that I need Nida. That even though it's Koris, you still believe the single witness. But that's... No. That's only if you believed against this Chazak Yisura. That remains unresolved. Sofik Shuman, Sofik Chelev, that's clear. He is believed. But there's a chance, but he's testifying something where the liability can be Koris. He's not believed. No, but let's say on the side that he would not be believed. But still, if it's a question of Shuman and Chelev, everybody agrees he's believed. Even though the consequence of that testimony is he may be eating something that's Koris. Nevertheless, Torah says he's believed. He doesn't affect, he's clarifying. He's clarifying to us, is this from this part of the animal that he knows? We don't know. So normally you say, so for the Rasul Chumrah. He comes and says, this is this fat comes from the kosher part of the animal. But you understand, but believing it means I'm taking a chance. I may be eating something which has liability of koris. Torah says a single witness is sufficient to resolve that question.
Even though it's not biyado, change it.
You don't need biyado. It's not a chazik. You only need biyado when it's a chazik.
when we say witness here, we apply the same standard to that word as we do when we qualify witnesses like under the kosher person.
No, it doesn't have to be. No, but it could be a woman. For this, Eidechon Misur could even be a woman. Even a woman.
But she would have to be a Shomer Shabbos.
Because otherwise she's not trusted.
That's what I'm saying.
She's not trusted.
Standard.
See, Ramosha has a tshuva. It's not simple. A person has a daughter, not observant. But we say with certainty, when her father comes to her home, and she says, Pa, the food, I bought it from a Galat kosher, this, prepared, dishes, could the father rely on his daughter? Ramosha says he could rely on it. Because we would say with certainty, because of the nature of the relationship, the daughter will not do anything to feed the father non-kosher.
And that's just the daughter and her father.
That's because it's the nature of the relationship. Well, this person has such a level of integrity. It's not enough. It has to be something which is factual because of the nature of the relationship. The daughter will not mislead her father to feed him something that's not kosher.
What about the other way?
The daughter-in-law. You might not say that.
There was a story, there was a book, it was put out many years ago by Feldheim. It was called The Silver Era. The Silver Era. there was Rabbi Silva from Cincinnati. So it's all about his life when he came to the United States. And, he's involved in Ashkochas. And he came to the United States, I think it was 1915, 1910. And it was like the Wild West in America. Over there, he brings stories where, they had reverends, were rabbis. What was a reverend? In Europe, he was a chazan. Here, he became a reverend. And they would officiate a wedding where a nephew was marrying an aunt, which is incest. The witnesses, a father and a son were witnesses at a chuppah. At a wedding. It was it was just unbelievable what went on. So he brings a story over there that there was a rabbi in Cleveland, Ohio. He gave a hechsher on all the butcher shops that it was kosher. So he comes, he visits the community, and he does his checking, finds out the meat comes from a non-kosher slaughterhouse. And it says on the window, bosa kosher, kosher meat. So he says, no, it said kosher, not bosa. So he says to him, how do you do it? He says, there's a principle, mutam shishogin v'lo yimitzidin. If they would know it's kosher, not kosher, they'd be deliberate violators. At least now it's inadvertent. Oh, that was the justification.
That's a real story?
Real story. Of course, halachically it has no value, because something that's explicit in Torah, you don't say that. But he wanted to minimize the level of transgression. He meant l'shem shamayim. But he got a fee for this, for giving that shit. To be continued.